Hi, Roy here, and welcome again to another edition of The Right Has Left. I am your host, Roy Garden, and we've got a fun-filled, packed podcast for you this week. We've got so much stuff going on in the way of the news from the White House administration. We've got the South Park thing going on. We've got yes, Maxwell and the Epstein Files and some of the interviews going on with her. So let's just go ahead and get into this. But first, what we're going to do is we're going to start with Pam Bondi, because Pam Bondi is the one that kind of got all this stuff going on. Now, according to a report in the Wall Street Journal, Attorney General Pam Bondi and her deputy Todd Blanche informed President Donald Trump back in May that his name appeared multiple times in the government's files on Jeffrey Epstein. And so the Department of Justice and the FBI reviewed all these files, and they told Donald Trump back in May, you know what, your name does appear on these files, and we don't know what to do about it. But as you are well aware of course, Pam Bondi and Trump both denied that there was anything else to these files. Watch this quick clip.
Specifically, did she tell you at all that your name appeared in the file?
No, she's given us just a very quick briefing, and in terms of the credibility of the different things that they've seen. And I would say that, these files were made up by Comey, they were made up by Obama, they were made up by the Biden we went through years of that with the Russia hoax, with all of the different things that we had to go through. We've gone through years of it.
Now, the officials told Trump of their plan not to release any additional documents, the report says, because the material contained child pornography and the personal information of victims. That makes total sense. I can respect all of that. President Trump, according to the Journal, said that he would defer to the Justice Department's decision not to release additional files on the Epstein case. The wealthy financier and convicted sex offender who died by suicide, as you're well aware of, back in May. So then the news turned to this lady, Maxwell, who is currently in prison. And what's going on with her is that, she was the partner of Jeff Epstein. And those two together, of course, had this ring going on where they were taking young underage girls and letting high-profile people have, unfortunately, sex with them, which is just a terrible, terrible thing. And Trump also tried to go to a federal judge down in Florida and have those grand jury documents unsealed, and the federal judge denied that request to have that grand jury testimony unsealed. So Trump had to do another thing, and that was to send down his people down to Florida to interview Maxwell. So he done so. And when he went down there, there has been 2 days now of testimony, and Maxwell did have her defense attorney with her during these question and answer segments. And she did say that there's over 100 people, high-profile people, that is on a list that does exist. How did the interview go? Well, watch this clip.
Answered every single question asked of her over the last day and a half. She answered those questions honestly, truthfully, to the best of her ability. She never invoked a privilege. She never refused to answer a question. So we're very proud of her. We're proud of how the process has worked over the past day and a half. We don't know how it's going to play out. We just know that this was the first opportunity she's ever been given to answer questions about what happened. And so the truth will come out about what happened with Mr. Epstein, and she's the person who's answering those questions. I think Glenn did a wonderful job. She literally answered every question. She didn't say, you know what, don't ask me that. I'm not going to talk about this person. She was asked maybe about 100 different people. She answered questions about everybody, and she didn't hold anything back.
Now, as you just saw in that clip, her defense attorney did say that she answered every single question. She didn't try to hide anything. And there may be a third day. We're not sure, but we'll have to wait and see what happens. Now, my analysis on all of this. First and foremost, why did they send Blanche down there to interview Maxwell? It doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out what's going on here. Why? Well, here's what's going on. The defense attorney and Maxwell are trying to bargain with Trump to get her out of prison early or even have her sentence pardoned. So it's either going to be commuted or pardoned. You know that's going to happen. The other thing that's going on here is if in fact she is going to testify about those 100 people that are on that list, Trump's going to use it to his advantage. Number one, if his name is in fact on that list, as most people say it is, now it's not accusing that Trump did anything illegal, but if his name's on the list, they want that to disappear. So again, please keep this in mind. Just because Trump's name may or may not be on the list does not mean that he committed any illegal act, but he wants his name to disappear. So what's going to happen is if Maxwell and her attorney agreed to go before Congress, you're going to start hearing, I don't recall, I don't remember, when they ask, is President Trump's name on that list. You can bet my bottom dollar that's what's going to happen. However, the other people that are on that list, if they are Republicans, Trump will make their names also disappear by her saying, I don't recall, I don't remember. And he will have all of the Republicans, by you know what, and they're going to owe Trump. So he'll make their names disappear in exchange for political favors. You can bet your bottom dollar on that too. The other thing will happen if there's any high-profile Democrats on that list. You can be, again, he will put Pam Bondi on them like like rats on a sinking ship. She will go after all of those high-profile Democrats and have them prosecuted if, in fact, there are any high-profile names on there that belong to the Democratic Party. So it's a win-win situation for him. This is exactly what he's doing while he's down there interviewing. She's going to ask for my sentence to be commuted or a full pardon. I don't think he's going to do the full pardon because that'd make the Republicans look terrible. Because when you're sex trafficking minor female like that, and he pardons her, that's going to be a black eye on the Republican Party. I think of it even will be if he commutes her sentence, but I can think that's going to happen because he's going to say, well, she's given me a lot of information, so it's just it happens all the time. You do this for me, I can do that for you, and to commute her sentence in exchange for information about names on those files. That'll happen, but Trump's name is going to mysteriously and quickly disappear from that. You can rest assured on that. So there you go with all of that information, because this is exactly what is going on here, and you don't have to be a rocket scientist to figure that all out. She was in 2022, she was sentenced to 20 years in prison. It was part of an ongoing Justice Department effort to cast itself as transparent following the backlash from Trump's base. And I think that backlash, no matter what Trump does with Maxwell, will continue. Because if his name does mysteriously disappear from all of that, they're going. You know darn well that he's covering up something. So, this is sad that this kind of stuff has to happen, folks. It is, and what are you going to do about it? This guy's in total control. He pulls all the strings. He pulls Pam Bondi strings, and everybody else that's in favor to him. They do exactly what he wants them to do, and when he says jump, they all say how high. So we'll have to continue to watch what's going on with these Jeffrey Epstein files. We will. All right, let's move on. President Donald Trump began a tour of the Federal Reserve headquarters this past week as his pressure campaign against this guy, Chairman Jerome Powell, intensifies. The rare Fed visit comes as Trump and his administration are ramping up criticism of Powell over allegedly budget-busting building renovations. The visit is also occurring as Trump seeks to divert attention from the Jeffrey Epstein files, as you well know. But even with this visit, Jerome Powell stood up to President Trump. Watch this clip.
So we're taking a look, and it looks like it's about 3.1 billion. It went up a little bit, or a lot. So the 2.7 is now 3.1.
I'm not aware of that.
Yeah, it just came out.
Yeah, I haven't heard that from anybody at the Fed.
Yeah, it just came out.
Our notes had it about 3.1 as well.
3.1,
3.2.
This came from us?
Yes. I don't know who does that.
You're including the Martin renovation. You just added.
Our entire capital.
Yeah, you just added in a third building. Is what that is. That's a third building.
Well,
including
no,
the
but
Martin building.
it's a building that's being built.
No, it was built 5 years ago. We finished Martin 5 years ago.
It's part of the overall work.
But it's
So,
not new.
So we're going to take a look. We're going to see what's happening, and it's got a long way. Do you expect any more additional cost overruns?
Don't expect them. We're ready for them, but we have a little bit of a reserve that we may use. But no, we don't. We expect to be finished in 2027. We're well along, as you can see.
Nice to take these off every once in a while.
So, yeah, this was quite funny, to be honest with you. That back and forth that they went through on the cost of the ongoing renovations at the Federal Reserve headquarters in some way was kind of humorous. Jerome Powell is one of the rare breeds that stands up to Trump every single time. He refuses to bow to this guy. And you know darn well from what you saw from that video, that was a typical photo op where Trump every single time with people he doesn't like, he tries to do a gotcha moment and make them look silly and stupid and embarrassing them. And this time, it did not work. You saw how he tried to pull out that budget thing, and immediately Powell said, you know, that's not true. You got in there a building that was renovated clear back in 2017, and that was the third building that has nothing to do with what's going on now. And, of course, Trump took off his hard hat and, well, you know, okay. He hates it when somebody gets the upper hand on him, and in this case, they did. Now, he had another interview where he's talking about how great, the budget is and how he's watching all his pennies and how inflation is down, et cetera, et cetera. Watch this clip.
That didn't even believe in tariffs are saying what a great move that was. We have hundreds of billions of dollars coming in. Japan, just on one deal, is paying us $550 billion. And they opened up their economy. It's incredible, the deal. And they're happy, we're happy, everybody's happy. But we should have the lowest interest rate of any country, and we don't. We should have. Every point is worth $365 billion. So we want to get the rates down, but we also want to get the Fed building finished. So I met with the contractors, we toured it with the chairman, and we had a very good tour, and we'll talk to you about it sometime. But Tim and I, we sort of understand what happened.
Yeah. Too expensive. Bottom line is this, that Americans deserve to become first-time home buyers. President Trump has created the best economy in the world. The one thing that would make it better is lower interest rates. Full employment is even more possible. Wages rise faster as interest rates come down when your employment is at 4.1% because of your leadership. We have revenues coming in at record-breaking, maybe last month even more revenue coming in than bills going out, which is remarkable.
They found $26 billion. They said, where did that come from? Nobody, I think that's been many, many decades since that happened.
I can't remember that.
They found $26 billion last month, and they said, where did that come from? I said, why don't you try the tariffs? And it was true. We're taking in hundreds of billions of dollars, and our country is doing great, and we have no inflation, and the numbers, the job, everything is good. The one thing we have to do is get housing prices down and the interest rates down so people can buy the house.
And with his little comments there, this brings us to our top story. Because I want to kind of, get this thing analyzed just a little bit about what he said there. Because 98% of it was not true. So Donald Trump has not only continued to lie about inflation, he's now falsely claiming that the Democrats are lying when they actually point out that the prices are going up. Now, he made this speech comments just this past week to Republican members of Congress. He delivered a series of inaccurate assertions on the subject of prices. Now, he wrongly claimed that gas was selling just this past week below $2 a gallon in 5 different states. It actually was not any states. The prices are all down, he says, on gas prices. Now, here in Florida, gas is currently at $3.12 a gallon. 4 days ago, it got down to $2.83 a gallon. So you can see the vitality of gas prices going up and down based on the price of crude oil. It does fluctuate, $2.83, $3.15. And so, again, he kept badgering the Democrats that they're all lying and that, prices are really going down, inflation's going down. And again, that's not true. Inflation right now, folks, is at 2.9% per the Consumer Price Index. Here's a fact check. Trump says gasoline's at $1.99 a gallon in 5 different states. That is not true. The tens and thousands of gas stations nationwide tracked by the gas app Gas Buddy, gas for $1.99 per gallon or less was not found, said Patrick DeHaan, the gas company's head of petroleum analysis. Now, again, some drivers do get special discounts. Like, I'm going to give you a perfect example here. I myself, if I buy so many gallons of gas, I have an app that will give me a 10 cents a gallon discount. You can find that at Cumberland Farms gas stations. If you use their app, you can get 10 cents a gallon discount. It is not, though, folks, below $1.99 a gallon. Even with 10 cents a discount, it's going to come in at $2.93, $2.83, on those discounts, but it's not going to be anywhere what Trump is saying. So no state had an average Tuesday gas price lower than Mississippi's $2.71 a gallon that was surveyed, according to data published by AAA. Trump has regularly claimed this year that 2, 3, or 5 states have sub $2 a gallon gas. Now, gas is traditionally low in Oklahoma, Tennessee, and you just saw there in Mississippi, but not anything below $1.99 a gallon. Trump says grocery prices are down. False. Grocery prices are up during his presidency, especially with these tariffs in place. Grocery prices in June were about 0.6 of a point higher than they were in January, the month Trump was inaugurated as president, and about 2.4% higher than they were in June of 2024, according to the latest Consumer Price Index data. Grocery prices did fall this past April as egg prices finally dropped after a spike caused by avian flu outbreak. He takes full credit for that. But grocery prices then went back up in May and June. Prices are all down, Trump says. I don't think there's any price other than what we've had a real terrible head on the Fed, and that brought the prices interest down. See, again, he's trying to say that Jerome Powell is responsible for all these price increases. He's trying to blame him instead of himself. Regardless of anyone's opinion of the Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell and interest rates policy, U.S. prices are not all down. In reality, prices have continued to increase, and this is why Jerome Powell is trying to monitor the interest rates. It creates inflation, but Trump, for some reason, can't figure that out. He just wants to take control of everything and say, I'll just bring interest rates down and watch the country fall apart. It's all based on economics. As of June, overall consumer prices were about 2.7% higher than they were in June of 2024, and 0.3 of a point higher than they were in May 2025, and about 1.5% higher than they were in January 2025. Now, giving all of these information that I just gave you, you can see inflation is up, food prices are up, and gas prices, well, they are up and then down again based on the price of crude oil. The tariffs are going to have a higher effect on this as we get into the holiday season. You're going to see toy prices really go up with the tariffs in place, because most of the toys are, of course, manufactured overseas, and you can bet your bottom dollar that you're going to see those prices go up too. So be prepared as we get closer and closer to the Christmas holiday season and you buy toys for those kids. be prepared that you're going to see those prices go up as well. I don't like to see that, but you can just bet your bottom dollar that holiday seasons are going to be pretty tough finance wise. So I don't like to bring bad news, and I know this was a lot of facts and figures, and you're probably like, Roy, well, what does this all mean? Well, it simply means that you got to get used to things going up, and price wise, as long as these tariffs continue to be put into place. But Trump, as you know, loves tariffs. So let's move on. Now, the U.S. Supreme Court just this past Wednesday allowed the Trump administration's removal of 3 Democratic members from the Consumer Product Safety Commission. And why did he do that? Because those 3 members were Democrats. Now, if you've been following this on the news, a district federal judge put a stay on this, and those 3 people were able to keep their jobs, but the Supreme Court, which has mostly conservative judges on it, gave Trump permission to go ahead and fire those people, sadly. And so he went ahead quickly and removed those 3 Democratic members of the Consumer Product Safety Commission who had been fired by President Donald Trump earlier. And then they're reinstated, as I just mentioned, and now, of course, they're finally gone. What's unusual about this is he just fired them without just cause. And he provided no reason for removing these 3 Democrats, just like Pam Bondi fired several people from the Justice Department because they all investigated the insurrection, and she had them fired without saying why or no reason. She just gave them a 1-page brief letter and said, "You're fired, get out of here." And of course, they are now in the process, those that were fired, suing the Trump administration. The Product Safety Commission board that I just talked about is technically a 5-person board, so those 3 Democrats that were fired will be replaced by Republicans, and of course this board will absolutely then go forward doing absolutely nothing. This is a vital board because you need product safety in things that are manufactured. You do. They protect things that are made for kids, for seniors, and of course all families. And why they don't like this board is it oversees safety. Well, they want profits over safety. Just go ahead and make the stuff, make your money, and to hell with these people. And of course the Democrats are always looking out for the person who doesn't have quite a lot of money. They look out for people who are have less than the rich people, and so therefore with these being replaced by Republicans, you can bet your bottom dollar that the board will start being a lot more relaxed on what people can manufacture and how they manufacture it, and just go ahead and make your money just like all we do, because it's great. So what can I say, folks? Good luck with that, and be sure that you watch in the future what you buy and how it's put together. That's all I can say. All right, let's move on. Let's get into some fun stuff. Yes, South Park. Hours after South Park co-creators Trey Parker and Matt Stone, whom you see here, signed a new 5-year overall deal with Paramount Global, the long-running animated series took an aim at the networks dealing with Donald Trump. You've probably seen a lot of stuff on this. And Wednesday's season 27 premiere featured the president complaining about the size of his manhood in an official painting, then crawling into bed with and trying to be cuddling up with Satan, who rejected him and complains about the size of Trump's manhood. Now, for the record, said manhood is seen in clips I didn't show. You'll have to watch the full show. Well, barely. Give it a size here. Multiple times throughout the episodes, including a photorealistic segment at the end of the show, which you just saw there, with saying that part of the agreement with CBS when the FCC approved this deal was that Trump got a lot of free advertising on public service announcements that they are going to be required to do for Donald Trump. And that one that parody that you saw at the end which was funny as all hell, is one of the things that they had to do. You know, CBS basically sold their soul to the FCC to make this deal with Skydance go through. So that was, I just think it was great. And of course, they're gonna continue to do this because Trey Parker and Matt Stone are now billionaires. Yes, they are, because with this new 5-year deal, that the streaming service deal that they got with Paramount, who happens to own Comedy Central, where South Park appears, they got $1.5 billion with a B dollar streaming deal, and what that is $250 million a year that these two guys are going to be pocketing. I think that is just funnier than hell. And they're going to continue to, have some fun with that. And I can't blame them. I think this is absolutely great. All right, let's move on with other news. Pete Hegseth is back in the news again, folks. And this thing with his little app just refuses to go away, and I think that's just again something else that is just funnier than hell. So the Pentagon Inspector General has received evidence that the military plans shared from Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth's Signal account to a group chat earlier this year were taken from a U.S. Central Command document that was marked classified. Yeah, at the time, according to two people familiar with the ongoing review. The Pentagon watchdog, which launched a review in April of Hegseth's use of the commercial messaging app to share information related to U.S. military operations in Yemen, obtained the document in the early days of its investigation. The sources said the document was marked secret, no foreign, meaning the foreign nationals should see it. The IG's possession of the document with its original classification markings appears to further undercut Hegseth's claims that nothing classified was shared in the Signal chat, which included several other cabinet members and Vice President J.D. Vance. Now, you remember they said, hey, there was nothing secret on that. Watch this clip.
There was no classified information, as I understand it.
There was no classified material that was shared.
No classified material was sent on this messaging thread.
There's no units, no locations, no routes, no flight paths, no sources, no methods, no classified information.
Now, similar details were shared from Hegseth's phone in a second Signal chat, as you're well aware of, that included his wife, brother, and personal lawyer. And of course, Chief Pentagon spokesman Sean Purnell again denied that there was any classified information that was shared on top of what this investigation already showed. So, again, these people on the Trump White House, they just love to continue to say over and over and over again that I have nothing bad to say about my team. So says the president. They're all great people. They all know what they're doing. And again, and this is my personal observation, the reason you see so much gaffing going on with the Trump administration is the fact of the matter is that most of these people in his cabinet have zero to little experience in government. They're all news personalities, or they come from other resources, and they have never served or spent any time in any capacity to where they can do their job effectively. And the other thing that is with the Trump administration is they don't give a crap. They're there to serve at the grace of Trump and do what Trump tells them to do, and that's it. If Trump says jump, they all have to say how high. And so this is why you see the stuff going on that you do. And I think this is going to continue to go on. I bet you, Hegseth is still probably using the Signal app. He doesn't care. And he's basically, as they all do, thumb their nose. What are you going to do about it? We own the Supreme Court. We own everything else here. We've got full control. We've got the House. We've got the Senate. Nobody is going to tell us what the hell to do. So shut up. That's basically what we've got going on here. So let's move on. So let's talk about ICE. They're back in the news. And as I have already explained to you several times, with this beautiful budget that has just passed and Trump's signed in, billions and billions of dollars are going to be funneled to ICE as they continue to pick up 3,000 immigrants a day, whether they've done anything illegal or not, and detain them. And we're going to talk a little bit about Florida here in just a minute, but let's talk about ICE for just a second, because, folks, this is absolutely sad. According to an internal United States Immigration and Customs Enforcement document, which was reviewed by the Washington Post, so you can see it for yourself, the agency has directed staff to expand the use of GPS-enabled ankle monitors as part of the Trump administration's growing efforts to track individuals targeted for deportation. The memo ordered ICE personnel to place ankle monitors on all individuals enrolled in the agency's Alternatives to Detention program, wherever possible, of course, quote unquote. Currently, there are about 183,000. I'll say that again. There are currently about 183,000 adult migrants who are enrolled in the ATD program and have agreed, what else are they going to do, to some form of mandatory tracking or check-in while awaiting resolution of their immigration cases. Of those, only 24,000 currently wear ankle monitors. A 20-year-old controversial surveillance practice which happened, Deshawana M. Helen, acting assistant director for ICE's non-detained docket management division, stated in the memo that one exception, of course, would be that pregnant women who would instead be fitted with wrist-worn tracking devices are still going to put this on them. If the alien is... Great word. If the alien is not being arrested at the time of reporting, escalate their supervision level to GPS ankle monitors whenever possible to increase reporting requirements. We want to make sure what these people do. Even though they have no criminal record, maybe they're here working for years to support their families, now they're going to have to wear ankle braces like they're common criminals so they can track where they're going, what they're doing, when they go to the bathroom, when they don't. They go down to the grocery store. We want to know what the hell you're doing. So... again, this is just part of the ongoing program with ICE, and these migrants all being detained, and people continue to die in captivity with this type of situation. And of course, the Homeland Security waits about 90 days before they put out a report like, okay, so-and-so passed away while in custody or being detained. So there you go. There's your figures. We don't care. So this is just sad what's going on with these folks. It really is. And unfortunately, there's not a lot about anything can do with it because he controls everything. So it's just going to continue. But, fortunately, we have the resources to where we can report about this stuff. Now, I guess in a more kind of a happy news thing here, if you want to, Trump made a deal with Coca-Cola to switch to cane sugar, which really isn't healthier, although he says it is. Currently, Coke does make their product with cane sugar in Mexico, and now they're going to move those operations to the United States. People who do use, corn syrup, which is what most of our folks here in the United States make for Coca-Cola and Pepsi and other companies, that's their profitability. These farmers that make the stuff with the glucose for corn syrup. Well, Coke did say they're going to make a brand of the Coke with the cane sugar, but they're not going to switch all of their products over to this. They're just going to make a brand to appease Trump that will have cane sugar. It'll be labeled as such, and they're going to come up with, of course, a catchy name for it. And then if you want to buy Coca-Cola with the cane sugar in it, then you can go ahead and do that. Now, health experts state sugar cane and beet sugar, which still does and will lead to weight gain and bad outcomes for your health. Coke will only bring introducing a sugarcane brand like they do in Mexico and not discontinue the other brands. They want to make that, clear. So the people that do make the other products for Coke are safe and they're not going to lose their welfare for what they make. Speaker Mike Johnson adjourned the House of Business early this past week, so they couldn't do any votes on the Jeffrey Epstein files. They won't be back in session now till early September because they're all on their August recess early, and because they didn't want to force a flow vote that would hasten the release of the Epstein files. So again, although Mike Johnson has come out and said we need to learn more, he's still protecting his boss by doing what he can to stall. Stall tactics is one of the best things that they like to do with the Republican Party. Stall, stall, stall. So unless it's something Trump wants, and then they want to get it done fast. So it just goes on and on. Okay, who else is in the news today? Well, this lady, Tulsi Gabbard. Yes. President Donald Trump had an eyebrow-raising situation. And because of the superlative that he used, he called the director of intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard, the hottest thing in the room. Can you believe that? Of course, he was basically referring to the fact that she's going to try to go after Barack Obama, former president, over some things that he did in the past. It's not going to work because of what Trump, Barack Obama now enjoys all the protections and things that President Trump does. So she can say whatever she wants to. It's not going to go anywhere. But yeah, to call her the hottest thing in the room, he was speaking at a reception with the Republican lawmakers at the White House. He did single out Tulsi Gabbard. She used to be a former Democrat, by the way, just like Pam Bondi. Pam Bondi was a former Democrat. So way back about a decade ago, and they all switched to the Republican Party because they could see how fast they could move up the ladder. Women like to do that. Because the fact of the matter is that Trump likes to, enjoy having them in his company. So, and of course, also they can see what the Republican Party is going to do for them politically to move their career up versus being a Democrat. But anyway, let's get back to this little situation here. So Trump said of Tulsi, she's like hotter than everybody. She's the hottest one in the room right now. Turning towards House Speaker Mike Johnson, who used to be his buddy, hot buddy. And I just mean that by the fact of things that he gets done, okay? Don't take that wrong. The 79-year-old president added to the speaker that she's hotter than you right now, Mr. Speaker. What do you think about that? She's the hottest person in the room right now, and he kept saying it over and over, listening to a roaring laughter from the people over there. Donald Trump heaped unusual praise on Tulsi Gabbard during his speech. For a while, Tulsi was not in his best favor for some of the things that she was doing. Now she's back in his favor because of the thing she wants to do with, Barack Obama. Now, Gabbard, who's just 44 years old, has climbed to the top of Trump's internal power rankings after claiming Friday to have uncovered documents allegedly showing that the Obama administration manufactured intelligence to promote the idea that Russia interfered in the 2016 election. The timing of Gabbard's so-called treasonous conspiracy theory revelation, which is what she's calling it, couldn't have come at a more convenient time for Trump, who has been desperate to divert attention from the Jeffrey Epstein situation. And she says that he led a group of people and they cheated in the elections and they cheated without question. He said at the reception, it appears that House Speaker Mike Johnson has been dethroned as the hottest person, and now Tulsi Gabbard is the hottest person. So, yeah, you gotta love this stuff, folks. You really do. And of course, Mark Rubio has given his full blessings for her to go after him, and we'll see how far that goes. But this stuff never ends. You think that's bad? Listen to this too. The Kennedy Center's famed Opera House could be renamed to honor Melania Trump. Melania, if this happens, the House Republicans will get their way. They're going to call the Opera House the Melania Trump Opera House. The Kennedy Center name will slowly disappear. And this is happening because, as you know, Trump has taken over as the chair of the Kennedy Center. And, of course, it's going to have everything Trump on it. So the Appropriations Committee, they approved it for amendment to the Interior. And so we'll see what happens. If you rename the Opera House to this, it's going to be a sad day because, it's always been known as the Kennedy Center, but of course they don't want any more DEI in there. The performances in the Melania Trump Opera House will now be anything and everything that Trump wants in there, and everything that has to do with him or his wife. It's the push to pay homage to the First Lady came months after President Trump, in an unprecedented move that was met with some criticism, overhauled the Kennedy Center's board and named himself as its chair after accusing the performance art institution of being too woke. So, I don't know. Everything's going to be Trump in there. And, of course, there's a move, too, to... this is in the news, too. I don't know how far it'll go, but they want, of course, turn Washington, D.C., the entire city, into a corporate-type operation and do away with the D.C. and put it under the control of for-profit corporations, because they don't like the Democratic control of Washington, D.C. So along with the Opera House, he's probably going to move along to do some other things, too, as well. I don't like it. Nobody else likes it. But what are you going to do? There's not much you can do at all. And in our final segment, we always like to talk about, with Florida, of course, we like to talk about Ron DeSantis in our local segment. Ron DeSantis continues to be in the news. State officials are preparing to conduct an on-site audit of cities and counties here in Florida, starting with Broward County and Gainesville. Governor Ron DeSantis said Tuesday in a press conference in each place that blasting local governments because they're not fully cooperating with him on their DEI policies and administration salaries. As you know, DeSantis wants to, he's very anti-woke like Trump is. Basically, Ron DeSantis is a mimic of Donald Trump. He does everything and anything he can to keep Donald Trump happy, since Donald Trump lives now in the state of Florida, in Palm Beach, West Palm Beach. So he is going to plan to announce between 10 to 15 similar audits in the coming weeks, targeted at agencies that didn't voluntarily comply with his request to turn over financial data in his new Department of Governmental Efficiency, or DOGE. Yeah, Ron DeSantis has created his own state DOGE operations, and he has Chief Financial Officer Bazai Ngolia, who accompanied the governor at these little appearances. Didn't mention any Central Florida jurisdictions in their crosshairs, but he's going to find them. The audits, DeSantis said, could reveal key information in their campaign for Florida voters to ban property taxes, a referendum they hope to pitch next year. Auditors are expected to begin their work July 31st. DeSantis has already signed contracts, too. We're going to move on here to Alligator Alcatraz right now. So Ron DeSantis has signed contracts for operation of this facility in the Florida Everglades of over $245 million to set up and run the new immigration detention center in Florida, according to a public database. Now, so what I'm going to talk to you about here, folks, is going to shock you, and I want you to pay attention because these numbers are correct. I have looked them up several times to make sure, like, God, is this actually real? And it is. So let me go ahead and finish this report as we wrap up this podcast. The amount to be fronted by the Florida taxpayers, and again, I'm going to say the Florida taxpayers, is in line with the $450 million a year officials have estimated the facility will cost to operate. Human rights advocates, faith leaders, and environmentalists have condemned the detention center. There are dozens of lawsuits now being filed against Ron DeSantis in the state of Florida for the operation of this. So Mark Morgan, a former acting director of Immigration and Customs Enforcement during Trump's first term, wrote in a memo that he said that in an opinion piece criticizing the facility is built for headlines and ripe for corruption. And this is so true. And Ron DeSantis is already being investigated for $10 million corruption himself, or something that he funneled to his wife's nonprofit organizations, as that's been in the news too from the Orlando Sentinel. Now, corrections officers at the facility can expect to earn up to $11,600 a month plus overtime. What did you say, Roy? I'm going to repeat this. This is, in fact, in the news. Correction officers can expect to earn $11,600 a month plus overtime, according to a job posting for the company on LinkedIn. So look it up if they haven't removed it already. Wardens, and of course, I don't know how many, when they say wardens, I don't know if it's going to be more than one warden at Alligator Alcatraz. But let's say there is. They can expect to earn up to $125 an hour. Not a day, not a half a day, an hour. Can you believe that? So there you go. Alligator Alcatraz is a money pit. How the hell can anything like this happen? And they've already had one plane flight out of taking the immigrants that are detained out. Of course, Ron DeSantis and his pressers have said, hey, these people have a choice. We'll actually pay for their flight. They can leave voluntarily. All they have to do is voluntarily, leave the country. We'll even buy their plane ticket. They don't have to be here. And they can get their flight out. It's okay. And of course, he's already opened it up for the Florida delegation to take a tour. Of course, all the Republicans say, hey, what a great facility, man. This is great. This is exactly what we need. And of course, the Democrats who toured it have been honest in expressing the fact that these people are put in here like caged animals. They've only got, a 3-hole bathroom, and they have to get their drinking water out of this thing too, plus defecate in it. And it's deplorable. The thing has flooded already, and we have not yet even had our first major hurricane here in Florida, and I hope we don't, but if they in fact were to have one, or a monsoon-type storm, that place floods easily. And now you're seeing these god-awful enormous salaries, for working down there. Of course, it's high because that place is a heat pit. You're going to pay people a lot of money because they're going to live in FEMA trailers while they're there. There's not a lot for them to do, so they're probably paying them a lot of high salary because the place is a cesspool, and they know it. The people who work there know it, but they're not going to tell the public that. So it's terrible. So there you go. There is my podcast for this week on The Right Has Left. I am your host, Roy Garden. I hope you enjoyed this content. Look forward to your comments. Until then, you try to have a great week. Until next time, take care.